Hi everyone, and welcome back to Unhinged but Healthy. So, it's been a week. Mercury retrograde is, it's just kind of got me right there. Like right hook, right across the face. I mean, I've had worse. Don't get me wrong, but I think this is the worst one I've had in a while. There was plans today. I was meant to have my face done, and the day's just gone. So here I am, freshly showered, in my dressing gown that's actually gross AF. You could probably hear the police sirens if you're watching the YouTube video, hopefully not on the podcast. But yeah, I've had this for a very long time. It's my favourite dressing gown, and I feel like if you're a girl, you kind of know, you have that attachment to the dressing gown. And I have my Spencer Bear, what are they called, hoodie, I don't know, and I love it, I do, but just this one, also from Marks and Spencer, I've had it since I was 14 and nothing can replace it. But yeah, anyways, so it's been a week, and I mean, as much as it's been a week, I also feel like I have really seen signs of growth in myself and how I've handled situations in this past week, and how it hasn't made me feel as small or as insignificant or as triggered as these situations once would have. But yeah, so today we're going to be talking about navigating heavy feelings. I've had a lot of them this week. I've had a lot of heavy feelings this week, a lot of big feelings, and feelings that in the past I wouldn't have really known how to behave whilst I was feeling them, and I wouldn't have been able to function properly to a degree with these big feelings because they'd be taking up so much space inside of me, and that's completely fine. They will, and that's fine. But I've kind of learned how to navigate life whilst also having these really big heavy feelings, and this is something when I was younger. I remember when me and my ex-boyfriend broke up 3 years ago, and I was sat in my cousin's kitchen and I was just sobbing, crying my eyes out, and I was just I don't know how I'm actually going to go on with life. I don't know how I can continue to feel like this and go on. And don't get me wrong, I've not been through a breakup this week, and I don't know how I would handle that situation now. But it's just when you look back and you're it's kind of bittersweet, looking back to that moment where I was literally so distraught and so broken down, and I didn't know how to handle these big massive feelings inside of me. And people were telling me it's gonna be fine, you're gonna look back at this in a few years and you might even find it funny, and you won't be able to believe that you were so down bad over this. And it's not even about that situation, it's just about how I was feeling at that time. But yes, anyways, so navigating heavy feelings. So let's kickstart this week off. I don't feel like I need to go into the situation, but my anxious attachment style has been tested this week, and sometimes I really thought it had the better of me. At times I really did think, this bitch is coming out to play, and she did a little bit, she did. But I've also, I don't know, I've had thoughts this week of am I toxic? Am I toxic? I'm not. I have toxic thoughts. I think maybe everyone does. I don't know, maybe that's just a thing if you've been in a toxic relationship. I'm not sure. I've never not never really, I've never had a healthy romantic relationship, okay? So anyways, what was I saying? Yeah, so my anxious attachment style, I had a situation earlier this week where I did get triggered and I just started to feel extremely anxious, and I wouldn't say the abandonment wound started to kick in, it wasn't that deep, but yeah, like my thoughts started to spiral, and it was just like, you know, people don't want to be around me, people don't want to see me, like I'm weird, like this person thinks I'm weird, and like I've said something, I'm getting really warm, and all of a sudden I'm really regretting my decisions to just wear a dressing gown and nothing underneath, but we're just gonna have to power through. Yeah, so anyways, these thoughts started kicking in. Water break. Yeah, these thoughts just started kicking in, and it's tough because you kind of have to learn, like, this isn't anything to do with the person that's triggered the thoughts, you know, like, not if, you know, say that like this person has done something before and it's a repeating pattern, repeating cycle, that's different, you know, like, okay, yes, that is about the person, it's about you, but it also is about that person, and you kind of need to reevaluate whether this is a situation that you can put up with in your life. Whereas if this person hasn't done anything before and you are just kind of predicting, because that's what your brain does to keep you safe, okay? It kind of predicts an outcome, and the more you think that that outcome is going to be the outcome because it's the only outcome you've ever known, you're kind of manifesting that outcome. And that's something that I've learned, you know. So, you know, this situation happened, my thoughts kind of did spiral a little bit, I did feel anxious, okay, and it's not something that I'm proud of, like, it's not, oh, my fringes are really annoying me, it's not even not proud of, like, it's not something that I would like to own, but I have to, and I kind of had to sit myself down and just be like, look, like, this isn't about that person, like, this person hasn't done anything to you before, this is about what other people have done to you before, and you are now worried that it's going to happen again, and you are scared to get hurt, and your thoughts are now trying to protect you by giving you these familiar thoughts, these familiar feelings. And I don't know, I feel like I've kind of gone the opposite direction. Like, whereas before, this is why I need a plan. I don't have a plan today. I just kind of last night picked this out of my brain, and now I've kind of lost track of it. There were so many thoughts going on and now I can't pick which one, and now they're all gone. But yeah, so what was I trying to say? This is a me problem. This is a me problem. And I recognised that instead of giving in to these anxious thoughts and then taking it out on the person that caused, if you're listening to the podcast, finger quotation, caused these anxious thoughts. What did I just say? Oh my god. Yeah, and you can't take it out on this person, basically, like, and that is something that I would always do, you know, like, even though past people have given me reason to take it out on them, it doesn't mean I should, it doesn't mean you should, you know, like, I need to be secure enough in myself to, if this isn't a repeated pattern with someone, I need to be secure enough in myself to believe that it's nothing to do with me and that they are telling me the truth, you know, and not give in to all these thoughts. And it's difficult, you know, like, when, and I don't want to say too much, I don't particularly like talking about my family and how I was brought up, and the experiences I had in my childhood. Like, I know I do talk about that, but I don't like going too into depth. Like, I don't know who listens to this podcast. I don't know who watches it. I don't want to hurt anyone that I love, you know? And even though those people have hurt me when I was younger, and, you know, I believe and I feel, and I think it's valid to feel this way, that I've been brought up in a way that I do sometimes, when I go back to my natural state, we shall say, I do find it difficult to believe that people want to spend time with me, because I was never made to feel like I was anything special when I was younger. I was made to feel like a burden, you know? And it's very difficult when the people who are supposed to love you most make you feel like you're a burden and you're not someone that they want to be around. Why would you believe that anyone else wants to have you around? Why would you believe that? You know? And it's horrible. It's not a nice thought to have, and it's not a nice feeling to have. And do I get angry about it sometimes? Yes, I do. But it is what it is, and I have to live life trying to counteract that belief, you know? So anyways, where was I going with this? Yeah, so this made me really anxious. And again, it's not anything to do with the person. Like, yes, what the person did triggered me, but I needed to sit down and realise that that was triggering me. And for once, that is something that I did do. And not for once, but like, I think it's the quickest I've ever done it. And that's what I was saying. I've kind of gone the other way. So, you know, I kind of just said, like, I kind of just laid out on the table, like, how that had made me feel and, like, whatever. And, like, part of me was a bit like, oh, do I really need to be doing this? Like, is this too much? You can't be too much for the wrong person, okay? It literally doesn't matter if you've been speaking for a week. You can't be too much for the right person. You can't be too much for the right person, you know? So just say how you feel. Do you know, like, I've spent so long just playing these games, like, I don't care, like, he doesn't care, so I don't care. I do care, you know? Most of the time, 9 times out of 10, I do care. And it's difficult, and, like, especially with the last situation I had where I got ghosted, and I feel like, you know, when I started to share how I felt and my emotions, that was too much for that person. And that's fine, that's just not the person for me, and I can't let that affect my dating life in the future. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you hide your feelings in the beginning, you're always going to have to hide your feelings, because the only people you're going to attract when you hide your feelings is avoidant people, you know? And usually when I say things how they are, I try and overcompensate that, and I feel bad, and I'm like, oh my god, like, I've just pulled this person up on this, or not even that, like, I've just said this and how I feel, and like, they're gonna take that personally, and like, now I need to overcompensate so that they want to speak to me. And like, if they don't want to speak to me, that's completely fine, because I've always been ignored in situations like this before, and it's hard. And you kind of just have to say to yourself, like, if that person does ignore you, that's fine. Like, that's not someone I want in my life. That's not someone I would be able to communicate with. That's not someone I'd be able to have a healthy relationship with. And you have to just let that be that, and you have to kind of take what's at face value. Like, and it's difficult, like, you know, and like I was saying earlier, like, I was having these like toxic thoughts of like oh, like, I kind of want them to feel bad, and like, why would I want them to feel bad? Like, you kind of just have to clock yourself on it, and it's really tough. Like, again, like, I wasn't an angel in my last proper relationship. I was not an angel. Like, I think I came out of that relationship thinking that he was all evil, and like, action causes reaction, and it does, but I wasn't perfect either, and it took me a very long time to realise that. And don't get me wrong, like, as Olivia Rodrigo says, like, we both, what does she even say? We both cut, I don't know, oh my god, this is really bad. This is embarrassing. Yeah, but like, both of us did things, but one side was worse, and let's just say that side wasn't me. And that's not even a dig, you know? Like, we both drew blood, but just I didn't draw as much, you know? And that's fine. But again, I was kind of going around acting like, I'm perfect. Like, no, I wasn't, you know? And yeah, I would do those things when I was in that relationship, but I was also very young and I wasn't really aware of how I was feeling. But yeah, so it's been difficult, and like navigating that anxious feeling, like it wasn't nice waking up all the time feeling anxious. And what's even more difficult is every time I'm in a situation like this, I'm just like, I feel anxious and I just want to cut it off. Again, I didn't finish that jumping ship thing that I've said about 3 times now. Now I kind of want to go the other way. Like, I'm like, this is making me feel anxious. I want to run. I don't want to feel anxious. I feel better by myself and I want to run. And it's like, if I never push past this feeling of being anxious in a romantic situation, it's always going to be there, and I'm never going to get anywhere, because the way that this anxious feeling is, of course, the more secure I become in myself, the less it will feel like, and I do feel that, like, the more secure I'm becoming in myself, the less I need that person to reply quickly, the less I need that person to ask to see me and to ask to do things with me, you know, the less I need to make hints to know how that person feels about me, like, the less I need to play it nonchalant, you know, like, the more secure in myself, the less I need those things, and that's great. But where was I going with this? This is not good. This is not good. Yeah, like, but that's where I was going with this. But I'm naturally who I am as a person, growing up with that anxious attachment style, being in the relationships I've been in, going through the situations I've been through, not just with romantic partners, but friends and family. I am always going to feel a bit anxious going into a relationship with a new person, like, no matter what that relationship is, you know, like romantic, platonic, maybe not work, but could be work, you know, family members. I'm always going to be a bit anxious, and the way that is going to be soothed is by repeated healthy communication with that individual, whatever kind of relationship it be, and them showing me time and time again that they are a decent person and that they wouldn't hurt me. And I feel like you know that very early on, you know, and it's just that you kind of have to push through that and kind of let that repeated positive action soothe your nervous system, and in time you aren't going to feel anxious. And does that mean that it's going to work out? No, like, breakups happen, you know, romantic breakups, platonic breakups, like the breakdown of like a family relationship, like, these things happen not just because you got cheated on, or because your friend said something about you, or because your family member is a fucking dickhead. Like, these breakdowns happen for other reasons as well. Sometimes your paths just don't align, and that's unfortunate, you know. Sometimes the relationship just drifts, again, that's unfortunate, you know. It doesn't mean that it's going to work out just because you found someone good, and that's unfortunate, you know, but it does show you that there's good people out there, you know. So yeah, navigating that heavy feeling has just kind of been listening to those thoughts in my head and just counteracting them, you know. Like, whenever I've had a thought of like, oh, like, so-and-so doesn't like me, it's okay, I don't know so-and-so, it doesn't matter, so-and-so doesn't know me well enough to not like me, they don't know me, you know. Like, oh, like, so-and-so's not replying because they're annoyed at me because I said how I feel. And like, I am also very used to hot and cold behaviour, you know, like, when things aren't all sunshine and roses, like, I'm very much used to being ignored and having to grovel and grovel and grovel even when I'm not in the wrong and I've been hurt. I'm very used to that. So again, that is something that is ingrained in me, and I kind of just have to say to myself, like, that's fine, you know, like things will get better in time if that is the case. And otherwise, like, if it's not the case, like, this is not your ex, this is not family member, this is not my old friend, you know, like everyone is different. And you know, like, oh, like no one likes me, like, and even like the thought of like, I'm never gonna find anyone because I'm so anxious and I can't see that through, I can't stick it out and I can't see it through. Like, no, like, I'm gonna get through this, okay? Like, I am gonna find that person, I am gonna get through this. It may be in 10 years, but I'll look back and I'll be so grateful that I made the decision to stick out that uncomfortable feeling of being anxious and just sitting with it and counteracting those negative thoughts. I will be so grateful I did it, because it will have got me to where I am then, you know, like, instead of just ignoring it and continuing the cycle, you know. But yeah, so that was one thing this week. But yeah, it did kind of like sink into my other relationships then as well. Like, you know, like, I thought my friends weren't replying to me because they were annoyed at me, or because I'd done something, or because like they just wanted to spend time with other people and not me. And I started getting really anxious and like thinking, like, I don't want to ask them to do anything because are they annoyed at me? Like, they've been active this many times and like they've still not replied. And I just had to say to myself, like, literally not everything is about me. Like, they could have things going on. I don't feel great this week, I'm not being 100% with everyone. Like, they could also have things going on. So instead, I asked my friends if they were okay. I asked them to do things, whereas before I wouldn't have done that. My posture is literally like a quaver right now. Yeah, like, I asked them if they were okay. I asked them if they wanted to do something, and if they said no, I didn't take it personally. If they were busy with someone else, I didn't take it personally. I spoke to them about how they were feeling. I spoke to them about how I was feeling, you know, like, and again, that just eliminates that feeling and those thoughts in my head. Like, I just broke the habit loop and the thought cycle, because instead of being worried that my friends are annoyed at me, that I see almost every day, I just literally asked them if they were okay and asked them if they wanted to do something, instead of waiting for them to ask me to do something and then feeling that relief of like, oh, they're not annoyed at me, you know. And yeah, that's that. But yeah, what else? So another big heavy feeling I've had this week, one of my family members, again, I don't really want to share this online, so I'm gonna be vague. Yeah, one of my family members texted me last night to say that my other family member had been, well, not rushed, but taken into hospital. Something had happened with that family member's health, and I'm very, very close to said family member. And I mean, like, you know, I have a massive thing with this family member. I have a massive fear of them passing away. Obviously, I feel like that's valid. My dad passed away when I was nearly 6. This is one of my dad's family members. Like, you know, I just do have a big fear of people dying, but this family member specifically, I have this massive anxiety around it, and I can feel it now. This was only last night, you know. I do have a very big fear, and I know it's going to happen one day. I just never want it to happen, you know. I never ever want it to happen, and I know everyone feels like this about their family members, but I just feel like this is excessive. Like, I remember, and by the way, not a good psychic, I'm not going to say who it was, but this psychic told me in uni, like, I was in a very vulnerable position, right? And I would speak to this psychic quite often. I feel like they probably knew I was in a very vulnerable position. It was Cardiff. It was lockdown. I was in Cardiff. I was in lockdown in Cardiff. I couldn't come home. So yeah, I just used to speak to the psychic all the time. And she told me whilst I was in lockdown in Cardiff, 2 hours away from home, that my family member had really bad health, he was really down, and that she thinks he's gonna die soon. And this isn't what sparked it. Like, I've always had a very massive fear about this family member, but oh my god, the pit of anxiety I crawled into, like, every time, like, my nana would text me or like phone me, I would be like, oh my god, she's gonna tell me, like, and I literally was just a crippling ball of anxiety. I didn't want to leave my flat. I was just like so fixated, and I was just so prepared for this news that this family member had like passed away. And this was 2020, so you know, what's that, nearly 6 years ago now, like, and that's crazy work. Like, why on earth would she tell me that, you know? Anyways, so fast forward, yeah, throughout the years I've just had really, as I've said a million times, really bad anxiety about this family member. And I love them so much, you know, as everyone does, I'd assume. But like, yeah, so initially, like, my heart was literally just like, and you know, the family member that texted me was like, don't worry, like, it's fine. Like, I literally phoned them straight away, and I was like, oh my god, like, do you need me? Like what's going on? Like, and my heart was just literally beating out my chest. And again, ways that I've grown, like, this would have sent me into a spiral a few years ago, maybe even last year. This would have sent me into a spiral. You know, I kind of just breathed through it. I just let myself be sad. I let myself cry, and I kind of recognized that, yes, of course I don't want this family member to pass away. Of course I don't. Like, I would honestly never eat an M&S cookie again if most of my family could live forever, you know? And I mean that, and that's a bold statement, you know? But yeah, so what was I saying? Okay, yeah, I recognised that I'm also scared to feel the way I feel when that day does eventually come. I obviously have experienced loss. I've lost my dad, I've lost my great grandma. When my dad passed away, I was very, very young, and I didn't quite understand it at the time. And I've said this a few times, and I held on to that because I didn't want to believe it for so many years. So as a teenager, I was very angry about it. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to feel it, you know? And it used to creep up on me like so much. And I would just have a breakdown about my dad literally every few months, even up until I maybe like 20, 21, like, and until I genuinely started to let myself talk about him, to let myself remember, to let myself look at pictures, you know, to just deal with it and grieve. And you know, so yeah, maybe I did grieve it a very long time after, but like, I never have had that like massive cloud of grief for somebody that has actually passed away. Like, my great grandma, I loved her so much, you know, I cried so much at her funeral. I cried so much when I found out, but she wasn't a prominent person in my life. Like, she lived like an hour away. Like, yes, we would go and see her all the time and things like that, but like, you know, like, this person is in my life every day and has been in my life every day, and you know, but yeah, and it's just like, it's horrible, like, that fear of like having to live life without this person, and how I'll feel afterwards, and how it will affect me, as well as the idea of how this is affecting them right now, you know? Like, it makes me feel sad. Like, it really breaks my heart to know that somebody I love so much is in a position that they don't want to be in, is in poor health, is feeling sad, and is in pain, you know? Like, that literally breaks my heart. Like, and there's nothing I can do to take it away. Do you know what I mean? Like, that literally, it hurts me. It hurts me to think about that. It hurts me to say that, you know? I don't want that. If I could take it away, I would, but I can't, you know? And it's just like, yeah. So again, where was I going with this? Tangent every time. yeah, so I kind of just had to come to that realization pretty quickly of like, right, this might not happen, you know, this is an outcome that hopefully will not happen, and if it does, I will be okay. It's not what I want, but I will be okay. And if it doesn't, why am I worrying right now? Why am I worrying right now about that happening, and acting and feeling as if that is going to happen when it might actually not happen, you know? And like literally a weight lifted off me already. And like, even though like thinking again, like I just said, thinking about that family member in pain and, you know, feeling anxious and upset, like even though that broke my heart and like that made me upset, and that did make me cry, and that's fine, you know, like they might still be here, and I'm thinking about how I'm gonna feel if they're not here. I don't know how I'm gonna feel, and even though it's gonna happen at some point, it might not happen now, you know, so why am I wasting my energy worrying about it? And like that was one way that I could see that I'd grown, and that was one way that I dealt with that heavy feeling. And I feel like if you need to cry, just cry. Like I've cried a few times today. I cried quite a bit last night. Like that's fine, just cry. Like you're allowed to cry about it, you know, like it's okay. And I feel like I feel like in the past I've created a block between me and this family member because I'm so terrified of them passing away that if I kind of create this block, I will feel so much when it does happen. But it will happen one day. And I realised that, and this is something I learned in like through my counselling a few years ago, I'm gonna feel worse for that. I'm gonna feel so much worse for creating that block and not showing anyone as much love as I want to, because I'm scared that it's gonna make me feel worse when the day comes that they leave, you know? And that, you know, whether that be passing away, whether that be leaving in general, love is never wasted. You should want to make people feel loved. How do you ever expect to feel loved yourself if you don't show people love? You know, and I feel like it's so much more important to just do the things you want to do. Like show as much love as you want to, say the things that you want to say as long as you're not hurting anyone, you know, like just do the things you just do the things you want to do. Like, because why would you want to look back and feel worse because you held back, you know? But yeah, so I feel like I've managed to control my thoughts around that, and it has been a heavy feeling to navigate. Like I had to go to work this morning, and usually after receiving that news, like I wouldn't have slept all night, but I managed to sleep all night because I managed to soothe my brain and soothe my thoughts, and all the what if thoughts, I just silenced them. Because why am I thinking about the what ifs? I only need to focus on what is going on right now. And at that time I had a lack of information, and my thoughts don't need to run crazy, because even though my brain is trying to comfort me, it's doing the complete opposite. And I know that now, you know, and I'm able to now navigate those thoughts and counteract those thoughts into ones that benefit me. And, you know, so therefore I slept, I went to work, and again in work, like I did slip up a bit, like it's literally the tiniest slip up, but like I had an aerobics class this morning, and we do a dance to Man Child by Sabrina Carpenter, and I put on the swear word version instead of the clean version, and I work in a place where you can't really do that. But again, it's a tiny mistake, and they found it funny, I found it funny, but like I managed to sort of, you know, magnify, like I put my brain onto work, whereas before I wouldn't have done that. Like back in like November when I got ghosted, and I hate to admit that a boy had this much thing of me, like I was so upset that like I went into a class, they didn't warm up, I forgot to warm them up. Like someone could have really hurt themselves, and again, even though it's not dire, like someone could have really hurt themselves there, you know? And that was all because my mind was with someone else, you know? Like I need to put my energy into what's in front of me at that very moment, and it's difficult, you know? Like, and today, like I don't feel great, I'm still sad, you know? Like and like I still have this heavy feeling, and I clean my room. Like, do you think I wanted to clean my room and change my bed sheets and shower? No, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to go to work this morning, but I did it because what was I going to be doing instead? Laying in bed crying? Like, yes, sometimes you need to do that, but resilience is also a really important thing. And it is hard, and it's like, I didn't lie when people asked me if I was okay in work. I just told them. I told them what happened last night. And I feel like that's a big thing with navigating heavy feelings. Like, you don't have to keep that to yourself. You don't have to go into loads of detail, but now they would understand if I made a mistake, and they would be a lot more generous if I had made a mistake, because they know what's going on and they know that my mind might be traveling elsewhere. And when I was in work today and my mind was going elsewhere, I was just like, no, come back, girl, come back here, come back to the room, but yeah, like, I didn't want to do those things that made me feel better today, but I also don't want to sit in bed and make myself feel worse either. Like, and it's not ignoring it, I'm still feeling it, but feeling clean, new bed sheets, tidier room, cleaner headspace, like, yes, I'm still having those thoughts, but it's a lot easier to stick with the positive thoughts when you feel better, when you feel fresh, and when your space feels clean. Do the things that make you feel better. Like, do you know how tempting it is to literally just get like fucking KFC for lunch? Because I don't want to make anything and I don't want to go to the shop. Like, I was meant to go out for lunch with my nan today. That's not happening now, and that's completely fine. I don't have any food in. I'm still gonna go and get the food and make it, because if I do get KFC for lunch, I'm gonna feel like shit, like, and you just kind of have to pick those healthier options. And I'm not just on about food in general, choosing those positive thoughts over those negative ones, letting yourself feel the way that you do, even when you don't want to feel that way. Another thing I've been doing this week, I've not been, like, usually when I eat my dinner and stuff, I'll turn the TV on and like, or I'll watch like TikTok or something. Instead, I've not done that, and I've just sat there with my thoughts, and I've just sat there, like, really, I know it sounds silly, but like paying attention to the food and like how it tastes and like all my senses. And it does make me feel better, and I do feel more rested. I feel like my brain's getting that break and I'm not constantly stimulated. And yes, it's boring sometimes, but it lets me process my feelings and it lets me process my thoughts, and I need that at the moment, but yeah. Another thing is just talking to people about how you feel, like, not keeping it to yourself. Like, it's difficult, but I feel like if you are lucky enough, like I am, to have people around you. Like, I just texted my friend last night and was like, I struggle to talk to my family about things, if I'm honest, just from the relationship we have had growing up. Even if it's different now, I still struggle, and I sometimes still feel like they don't understand me as a person. Whereas the relationships I've built now with my friendships, like, I know I can talk to them, and even though they may not understand, I know that they'll try and be there for me. And and that's exactly what I did, and they've been checking in on me today. And it's just like, it's nice to have that, whereas if I did what I would usually do when I was younger and just kind of not say anything and just switch off and go like either moody or like quite distant, like, and then them just thinking that I'm being a bitch, like, now they know what's going on, and again, they will be more generous with me if I am a bitch, or if I am distant, and I feel like that's also a big part. Both of those things are a big part of navigating heavy feelings. And yeah, another thing, don't act out of emotion, just feel how you feel. Don't say anything. Don't say anything. Just think about it, marinate in it, like, I have had, and my job is quite like a social job, and I've had moments this week where I haven't felt very kind, but you just repeat to yourself, always be kinder than you feel. Like, it's not these people's fault that I don't feel good right now. It's not my fault either. It's not anyone's fault. But it's definitely not for me to take it out on them, you know? But yeah, so that is how I've navigated my heavy feelings this week. Mercury retrograde is a bitch. She's a bitch. You heard it here. But yeah, I hope this helped, and I know I kind of just say the same thing all the time, but it's because it works, you know, it works. But yeah, I hope this helps. I'm very sorry if you too are navigating heavy feelings right now, but don't react out of them. Don't react out of them. Yeah, have a good one. I love you lots, and I'll see you soon. Bye.